You smell the cold pine resin before you hear the footsteps in the snow. The freezing wind cuts through your deerskin mantle. It bites at your cheeks as you crouch beside a limestone ledge. Below you, the glacial valley opens up like a vast white canvas. Across the frozen riverbed, a figure moves. High as broad and barrel-chested. Heavy brow ridges shadow his intense eyes. He does not move like the men of your clan. High is shorter and denser. High is built to survive the crushing chill of an ice age that has lasted thousands of years. You watch him breathe into his calloused hands. He turns. High sees you. For roughly 300,000 years, his people ruled every ridge and forest across Eurasia. They survived brutal ice ages. They wrestled woolly mammoths. They mastered the unforgiving cold. Yet within a few thousand years of your ancestors arriving, his kind completely disappeared. Today, modern dating apps process millions of swipes every second. You live in a world where finding a partner feels like a personal quest. Yet 50,000 years ago, romantic attraction across species boundaries reshaped the human tree of life. A series of intimate choices did what no war could ever accomplish. Your female ancestors did not defeat the Neanderthals on a field of battle. They seduced them out of existence. Look down at your forearm right now. Within the nucleus of nearly every cell in your body sits an unbroken chain of genetic code. If your ancestral roots lie outside sub-Saharan Africa, between 1 and 2% of that code is pure Neanderthal. That fraction is not a scar of war. It is the biological receipt of a forgotten romance. For more than a century, popular science told you a violent story. Early scholars imagined a prehistoric genocide. They drew pictures of brutish Neanderthals slaughtered by modern human warriors. It was a comfortable story for the modern ego. It framed your direct ancestors as clever conquerors. The physical evidence tells an entirely different tale. Walk into any major anthropological archive in Europe. Examine the skeletal record of the late Ice Age. If a massive war took place across 20,000 years, the earth would be packed with trauma. You would find mass burial pits filled with cracked Neanderthal skulls. You would find bones with puncture marks from spear points. You would uncover defensive walls in scorched earth. Archaeologists find almost none of this at thousands of archaeological sites across Europe. The fossil record shows virtually zero evidence of organized warfare. There are no massacres. There are no signs of systematic slaughter. Instead, excavators find something far more perplexing. In cave after cave, the layers of soil reveal a quiet transition. You find Neanderthal stone tools in one layer. Above that, both tool styles exist side by side. Above that, you find only modern human artifacts. The Neanderthals did not die in a sudden blaze of violence. They faded away. They melted into the surrounding landscape like snow in a warm spring. How does an apex predator simply dissolve without a fight? The answer remained locked in darkness until ancient genetics arrived. At the Max Planck Institute in Leipzig, geneticist Svante Pääbo began an impossible project. I wanted to extract surviving fragments of DNA from bone dust tens of thousands of years old. Most scientists thought ancient DNA was completely destroyed by time. Pääbo proved them wrong. Working with fossil fragments from Vindija Cave in Croatia, his team filtered out ancient contamination. In 2010, they published the first sequence of the Neanderthal genome. The scientific world shook. Until that moment, many anthropologists believed the two species never touched. Pääbo proved that was impossible. Living humans carry Neanderthal genes that shape your skin, your immune system, and your metabolism. Yet as geneticists analyzed more fossils, a baffling paradox emerged. Modern humans carry Neanderthal DNA. Late Neanderthals, however, carry almost no modern human DNA. Why was the genetic river flowing in only one direction? What invisible barrier prevented human genes from returning to the Neanderthal line? In 2022, researchers at the Natural History Museum in London stepped forward with an answer. Professor Chris Stringer and biologist Lucille Crete published a landmark paper in Evolutionary Anthropology. They systematically reviewed fossil, archaeological, and genetic data across Eurasia. Their conclusion was startling in its simplicity. The extinction of Neanderthals was not caused by environmental catastrophe, disease, or human weapons. It was driven by mating behavior. Stringer and Crete proposed that regular interbreeding acted as a demographic vacuum. Every time a Neanderthal mated with a Homo sapiens, That reproductive act drained genetic vitality from the fragile Neanderthal population. Think of it as demographic dilution. If you pour a small glass of red wine into a large bucket of clear water, the red tint gradually disappears. The wine is not destroyed by force. It is simply absorbed until it is no longer visible. Neanderthals were that glass of wine. Your ancestors were the rising tide. To understand why this happened, look at how these two species structured their daily lives. Imagine standing in northern Spain 49,000 years ago, deep inside El Sidrón Cave. Archaeologists uncovered the remains of 12 individuals who lived and died together. Dr. Carlos Lalweza Fox and Dr. Antonio Rosas conducted exhaustive genetic investigations on this family. The bones belonged to 3 adult men, 3 adult women, and 6 young people. When researchers mapped their DNA, the results painted a portrait of extreme isolation. All 3 adult males shared the exact same maternal lineage. They were brothers or close cousins. The 3 adult women came from 3 completely different maternal lines. This revealed a social pattern known as patrilocality. In Neanderthal society, men stayed with the clan they were born into. When young women matured, they walked out alone into the wilderness to find an unrelated male band. In a crowded world, this strategy works well. In the freezing ice age, it was a dangerous gamble. The total Neanderthal population across all of Europe was shockingly small. Fewer than 10,000 Neanderthals were alive at any given time across the entire continent. Neanderthal bands lived in deep isolation. They often spent years without encountering a single stranger. The bones at El Sidrón Cave reveal the devastating cost of that isolation. Their teeth show deep ridges from severe childhood starvation. Many individuals had congenital bone deformities caused by extreme inbreeding. They were running out of partners. They were physically exhausted, genetically trapped, and living on the edge of survival. Now look at the world of your direct ancestors. At sites like Bacho Kiro Cave in Bulgaria and Sungir in Russia, archaeologists find a completely different reality. Homo sapiens lived in dense, highly connected networks. A typical human band formed groups of 30 to 50 people. Those bands were connected to regional networks of hundreds of individuals. Your ancestors traded across vast distances. At Bacho Kiro, researchers find marine shells transported hundreds of kilometers across mountain ranges. They had specialized clothing, complex ornaments, and shared rituals. Most importantly, your ancestors practiced cooperative childcare. In a Homo sapiens clan, a mother did not raise her child alone. Grandmothers, aunts, older siblings, and friends shared the burden of feeding and protecting infants. This social safety net allowed human women to give birth more frequently without risking exhaustion. When these two vastly different worlds collided along the river valleys, the imbalance was overwhelming. Let us reconstruct a spring morning 45,000 years ago along the Danube River. The winter frost is beginning to thaw. The river runs fast with melting glacial ice. A young Neanderthal hunter moves through the birch forest. His body is a masterpiece of cold weather evolution. He possesses massive shoulders, a thick rib cage, and dense leg bones. Yet he is desperately lonely. His home clan back in the valley consists of only 8 people. His sisters are gone, wandering the wilderness in search of mates. There are no unrelated women left in his territory. If he remains with his band, his family line ends forever. Then, across the clearing, he hears voices. Hun hears laughter. He drops low into the undergrowth, his fingers tightening around his wooden spear. Through the branches, he sees a bustling camp. Dozens of tall, lean figures move between leather shelters. Smoke rises from multiple hearths. Children chase each other through the grass. Elder women sit together, sewing fur garments with delicate bone needles. Among them, he notices a young Homo sapiens woman. She is working beside the riverbank, preparing dried plant roots. In evolutionary biology, female mate choice is a powerful engine of change. Because reproduction requires immense energy, females are naturally selective. What does this woman see when she looks at the stranger emerging from the tree line? She does not see a monster. She sees a man of immense physical power. He knows every ravine, every herd migration path, and every edible plant in this frozen land. His people have mastered this territory for 300,000 years. He represents survival and unmatched local knowledge. What does the Neanderthal hunter see in her? He sees an oasis in a desert of genetic loneliness. She represents a thriving community where children survive. She represents social security, warmth, and a future for his offspring. They meet. They communicate through gestures and shared human curiosity. They mate. Now ask the critical question that changes the fate of an entire continent. When this couple produces a child, where does that child go? In ancient foraging societies, individuals who mate with members of a thriving group remain with that thriving group. A Homo sapiens woman would not abandon her family and her reliable food supply to live in a freezing cave with starving strangers. She stayed with her clan. The child was born inside the warm embrace of the human camp. That hybrid baby was raised by a large cooperative network. The child was fed, clothed in tailored garments, and taught the language of the modern human clan. When that child grew up, she mated with other Homo sapiens. With every generation, that Neanderthal contribution was mixed deeper into the human gene pool. Now consider what happened to the Neanderthal clan back in the hills. That hunter contributed nothing back to his own people. His home clan did not receive a new female. His home clan did not receive a new child. His home clan lost a prime hunter and gained zero genetic diversity. It was a one-way demographic siphon. Every romantic liaison between a Neanderthal male and a human woman accelerated the growth of the human clan. At the same time, it brought the Neanderthal population closer to collapse. The Neanderthals were not outfought. They were absorbed. The story becomes even more compelling when you examine the molecular biology inside your cells. Scientists have long wondered why we find no Neanderthal mitochondrial DNA in living humans. Mitochondria are tiny power generators in your cells that pass down exclusively from mothers to children. If Neanderthal mothers successfully raised hybrid children in human bands, we would find their maternal DNA today. Researchers find none. In 2016, a study led by Dr. Fernando Mendez at Stanford University analyzed the male chromosome of an ancient Neanderthal. The results uncovered a profound biological barrier. The researchers discovered mutations in 3 immune genes on the Neanderthal male chromosome. In modern pregnancies, if a mother detects foreign antigens from a male fetus, her body can reject the pregnancy. When a Neanderthal male mated with a Homo sapiens woman, male fetuses were likely rejected by the mother's immune system. Male hybrid babies often died in the womb. Only female hybrid babies, who carried 2 X chromosomes, survived safely to birth. This matches a famous biological principle known as Haldane's rule. Female hybrids were healthy, fertile, and raised within human bands. They passed down their Neanderthal genes while filtering out the Neanderthal male chromosome. Meanwhile, if a human male mated with a Neanderthal woman, that pregnant mother had to survive without a large support network. During harsh glacial winters, those infants rarely survived. Biology and social structures worked together to create a one-way street. The bridge led directly into the human world. The road back to the Neanderthals was closed. To complete this picture, look at the food that powered these bodies. Anthropologists Leslie Aiello and Peter Wheeler established that large brains and heavy muscles require immense energy. A Neanderthal male was a metabolic powerhouse. To maintain his muscle mass and body heat in an Ice Age climate, he required up to 5,000 calories every single day. In the dead of winter, finding 5,000 calories meant risking his life against massive Ice Age beasts. Neanderthal women hunted alongside men. Fossil evidence shows that adult females suffered the same frequent bone fractures and head trauma as males. Because every hand was needed for the hunt, Neanderthal women could not specialize in foraging or infant care. Your ancestors invented a revolutionary economic strategy. Anthropologists Mary Steiner and Stephen Kuhn documented a profound shift known as the broad-spectrum revolution. Homo sapiens divided their labor. Men hunted big game, while women gathered calorie-dense nuts, seeds, roots, and small animals. This meant your female ancestors provided a predictable baseline of daily calories. Even if the hunters returned empty-handed, the clan did not starve. They had nutritional stability. When a Neanderthal male encountered this economic model, the contrast was irresistible. By choosing human women, Neanderthal men gained access to reliable food, warm clothing, and real community. Love was not just an emotion. Love was the ultimate survival strategy. 50,000 years later, the last pure Neanderthal is gone, yet they never truly died. They are sitting inside the room with you right now. Touch your hair. Feel the texture of your fingernails. The genes that build the tough protein in your hair and skin were inherited from Neanderthals. Your ancestors arrived in Eurasia with biology suited for the African sun. By mating with Neanderthals, they instantly inherited adaptations built for northern climates. Look at your immune system. When your body detects an invading virus, it activates defensive proteins called toll-like receptors. Geneticists have discovered that several of your most vital immune genes were direct gifts from Neanderthals. Those genes helped your ancestors survive foreign European diseases. There is a price for this ancient gift. Those same sensitive immune genes are the exact reason you suffer from seasonal allergies today. When your eyes water from pollen, your body is deploying an ancient defense mechanism designed to fight Ice Age parasites. Your sleep patterns, your skin, and your metabolism are all tied to the choices made on the edge of the glacial tundra. You are not a pure species standing isolated from nature. You are a walking mosaic. You are a living monument to prehistoric curiosity and cross-species attraction. You smell the cold pine resin once more. The wind howls across the limestone ridge, carrying the scent of burning embers from a distant hearth. The footsteps in the snow have long since faded into dust. For decades, humanity looked for the violence that was assumed to define our origins. Scholars looked for the weapons and the bloody battles that built the world. They were looking in the wrong place. The most powerful force in human evolution was never a capacity for war. It was a boundless capacity for intimacy across boundaries. Extinction did not arrive on the point of a spear. It arrived softly, under northern stars, in the warmth of an embrace that welcomed them into your blood forever. The next time you step out into the freezing winter air, listen closely to your body. Those quiet footsteps in the snow are still walking inside you.